Alonzo Bodden. I want to welcome you to episode 364 of my podcast, Who's Paying Attention? I am coming to you live from Montreal. That's right, Just for Laughs, the greatest comedy festival in the world, has begun, and I'm up here doing it. Forgive me on the sound. The recording situation could not be worse, actually. I'm in a cement room, and as you know, sound bounces around. There's also construction going on, so you may hear some stuff in the background. You have my apologies, but this is where it is. I wanted to do this podcast because there's something I definitely want to talk about. Now, I know there's a lot going on, and if you pay attention to the news at all, you're as aware of it as I am, that there's absolute insanity going on. And I just look at the news. People ask me, I had a couple of people ask me in the past week. Two different people said, how do you not get angry? Because they know I'm a news junkie and I'm quite often a pundit talking about these subjects. They're like, how do you not just get mad? I don't know. It is what it is, right? It's our society. I'm a comedian. I try to find the humor in any of it. So I try to stay away from anger. There's definitely times when I do get angry, but I try to stay away from it. And one of the ways I do that, I quite often visit the habitat of the ridiculous, because the ridiculous will keep you laughing instead of keeping you angry. But this week, there's something that really, I don't know if anger is the right word, but I'm definitely going to go with outrage and ridiculous. And there is no bottom. I used to say that all the time. It's back. There is no bottom. So, with the typical ridiculousness and I don't know, snowflakes or whatever else, they're very upset. And Kamau Bell has a great show on CNN. I talked about it last week. I'll talk about it again. United Shades of America. And he touched on this, how mad conservatives are about the truth, right? They don't want you to learn anything about critical race theory or the 1619 Project. They don't want you to know that slavery was bad. Like, please don't talk about slavery was evil. America was great. America was built on the backs of slaves, and it's not a moral judgment. It's the truth. That's what it is. So now they are very upset because there's a tour of Thomas Jefferson's mansion in Montecito in Virginia. And during the tour, they talk about slavery. They talk about how many slaves he owned, which is 600 slaves, how he profited from slavery, how he didn't free the slaves that he owned, et cetera, et cetera. And they be in the right wing and Fox and Friends, and they're just, okay, here it is. This guy, I don't even know what his name is. Does it matter? Jefferson Tucker. Jefferson Tucker visited Thomas Jefferson's mansion in Montecito, and he complained about his tour guide overemphasizing Thomas Jefferson's history as a slave owner. I just thought that Montecito would protect it from this disease of wokeism. It's not a disease of wokeism, it's the truth. It's the history of the country. It's slavery. Yeah, it's real. But that's not really got to me this week. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's unfortunate that they don't want to teach their children the actual truth. Some of their children will research it on the internet and learn for themselves. Others will be quite happy in their ignorance. Remember, they want to protect their children. They don't want their children to feel bad. What about the children and the families of the children, the brothers and sisters of the kids who got shot up at Uvalde? You don't want them to feel bad, so we're not going to mention anything bad happens. Kids aren't stupid. Kids know what happened, and unfortunately, sometimes kids feel bad. And here's the real question when they don't want to teach anything about the slave history of the United States. Do you notice they're not worried about black kids feeling bad? They're not worried about Native American kids feeling bad when their genocide is ignored in the history books. No, well, they don't really count. we got to protect these little white kids. And that's not saying anything against the little white kids. It's making a hell of a statement against their parents. But that's not the story. Now we have another athlete. I laugh because of the things they choose to fight. JT Realmuto is the catcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's an excellent baseball player, all-star caliber. He won't play against the Toronto Blue Jays. Why? Because Canada, I'm here now, requires vaccination or a negative test. And of course, he won't let Canada tell him what to do with his body. Shut up. That's all. Shut up. Where are all the shut up and dribble people? Where's Fox News now? Shouldn't he shut up and catch? But that's not the story. In Sarasota, Florida, there was an editorial protecting the Proud Boys. You know the Proud Boys, the white nationalist terrorist organization. Yeah, they wanted the opinion page. They wanted to have a guest editorial talking about the Proud Boys because, as the writer said, when I think about the Proud Boys, quote, when I think about the Proud Boys, I think of fathers and business owners and veterans, and they've spoken at school board meetings. They're concerned about the direction that their local schools are heading, and I commend them for coming to the school board meetings. Of course, what the guest writer of the editorial failed to disclose is that she's married to one of the Proud Boys. She's married to one of the terrorists, and she thinks they're not a bad organization. I would imagine that if you're married to a terrorist, you don't think that those terrorists are bad. Now, if you're married to a Supreme Court justice, you probably think the Constitution is bad, but we're not talking about you right now, Jenny Thomas. We're talking about this woman down in Florida. So once it came out that she is married to a Proud Boy, the paper said, oh, we shouldn't have printed the editorial, but like Dick Cheney, another real winner, famously said about his lies, the story is on page 1, the retraction is on page 6. So this has already been out there. She's already had the promotion of the Proud Boys. So, yeah. But that's not the story. That's not the story that got me this week. This one, I was just surprised. Did you know there's a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? I didn't, but apparently there is. There's a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and seems one of them is a real criminal. Jen Shaw, who is in the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, has pled guilty to a telemarketing scam in which she made millions of dollars over a period of time. And she's looking at doing real time in New York. She pled guilty. I'm just going through the story real quick. I didn't know there were Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And it's a typical Real Housewives. I'm seeing a lot of fake boobs, a lot of cleavage, the whole thing. I'm sure there's a lot of whining, yelling at each other, and they slap each other now and then. You've seen Real Housewives. You know the stories. But yeah, she is in a bit of a spot, in a bit of a pickle. Now, she's been off the show for a little while. She used to sell these, quote, lead lists to try to make money. And I was just looking for the exact charges. Forgive me while I skim through the article really quick. Okay, you don't need to listen to me think. You don't need to listen to me. Here it is. Okay, so she pled guilty to a count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud in connection with her telemarketing scam. She agreed to forfeit $6.5 million and pay restitution of $9.5 million. And she faces a maximum sentence of 30 years. I doubt if she'll get the max, but wouldn't it be nice if she did go to jail for a while? Considering she committed a crime. Then she could do Real Housewives behind bars. She could get a spinoff show. But that is not the story. We're getting closer to the story. In Texas, a woman was pulled over in the carpool lane. You're supposed to have a minimum of 2 people. And they wrote her a ticket. And the cop said, "Where's your passenger?" And she pointed to her belly, saying she's 34 weeks pregnant. And since the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade and her fetus is now a person, it counts as a passenger, and she told them the state can't have it both ways. I like that argument. I think she's right. If the unborn baby is a person, then why can't you drive in the carpool lane with your two people? But even that, ladies and gentlemen, is not the story. Alonzo, would you get to the story? I'm about to get to the story. The story is in Ohio. And as you know, as we all know, there was a 10-year-old girl in Ohio who was raped. And if you're 10 years old, by definition, sex is rape. They don't give permission at 10. She went to Indiana to get her abortion because Ohio banned it. What did the Ohio Republicans do? They tried to make the story fake. This is what angered. A 10-year-old was raped, and they're trying to say it never happened. Now, the man who raped the girl was arrested and indicted. Okay, it absolutely happened. She's 10 years old. She's been raped. She has to go through all of this to get an abortion, etc. Well, the Republicans tried to ignore the story. Governor Mike DeWine and his spokesman responded to the story by ignoring questions. They just ignored questions when asked, should children be forced to have rapist babies? The Washington Post, the Daily Caller, the Wall Street Journal, other right-wing papers, the National Review said that the story hasn't been verified. The case is unverified. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost went on Fox News. He wanted to raise doubt. He said he's worked with law enforcement and there's not a whisper about this case. The Republican Party chair for Ohio says it's a garbage lie. And on and on. Jim Jordan, who, as we know, was involved with the child sex scandal of the wrestlers, says this is another lie. And this quote, another lie. Anyone surprised? The case is real. The case was never a lie. The case was never implausible. The case hasn't been faked. The case hasn't been exaggerated. A 10-year-old girl was raped and had to go to another state, which in the other state, the attorney general is releasing the picture of the doctor who did the abortion, trying to get that doctor attacked. Funny, they were very upset when Kavanaugh was disturbed having his steak dinner in Washington, D.C., but they don't mind releasing the picture and the personal information of this doctor because pro-lifers are not pro-life of an abortion doctor. They're okay with murder of abortion doctors. This is part of their history. But anyway, what kind of scumbags, what kind of low-life pieces of shit would try to deny the rape of a 10-year-old for political gain? These are the people who would, Ohio Republicans. Publicly on national news, and by the way to go Fox News for giving them a forum to do this. I'm surprised they didn't slip and leak the 10-year-old's name. They have zero contrition. They will not apologize. David Yost said, apologize for what? Questioning a newspaper story? No, you're in law enforcement, Mr. Yost. You know this story is true. You can easily check the records of the report. You can easily look at the arrest and know it's true. A 10-year-old girl got raped. And you guys think it's fun to pretend it didn't happen so you can have your little anti-abortion rallies and this and that. You are absolute garbage. I cannot imagine anything lower. Well, that's not, yeah, it's true. I can't imagine. I'm not saying they won't go lower because they absolutely will. Because as I've said before, I will say again, there is no bottom with these people. There's nothing they won't do. There's nothing they won't do. If you saw the picture of them on this story, they look like three guys who would be fine with a child being raped. You could just look at their faces and see. These are the politicians running Ohio. These are the politicians who run our country. this is what they consider okay, to deny the rape of a 10-year-old girl. And when the rapist is arrested and the story has to be proven, for some reason the story has to be proven, they're like, well, we just questioned a story. This is the kind of thing that adult women rape victims have talked about forever. How it is dismissed, how it's questioned. What were you wearing? Why were you walking late at night? Blah, 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 blah. This is why so many rapes go unreported. But this is a fucking 10-year-old girl. A fucking 10-year-old girl. And they use the same tactic. Try to discredit a 10-year-old girl who was raped. There is no bottom, people. Absolutely none. And that's the story that got me this week. Now, on a lighter note, and we have to leave on a lighter note, have I mentioned the stupidity of Herschel Walker? The remarkable stupidity of Herschel Walker? As a matter of fact, the borderline beautiful stupidity of Herschel Walker. He's beautifully stupid. You've heard of a beautiful mind? This man is beautifully stupid. When asked about the Green New Deal and about climate change, he responded, quote, "Since we don't control the air, our good air decided to float over to China's bad air. So when China gets our good air, their bad air got to move. So it moves over to our good airspace, and now we have to clean that back up." So there you have it, people. That's why we shouldn't have any climate change, because we clean America's air, which he said, by the way, is the best, cleanest air in the world, which we already knew. We already knew that. We clean America's air. For some odd reason, America's air decides to go to China, and it's free because it's American. It's free air. We can't control it. It's free. It goes to China, and now China has all this bad, dirty air, and somehow the air from China clears customs and comes back to America to give us more dirty air that we have to clean. And now Herschel Walker has explained that you don't have to worry about climate change anymore. You do have to worry about the fact that there's a damn good chance Herschel Walker is going to win the election. He's behind 10 points, but we don't trust the polls because Hillary was way ahead in the polls. Don't believe the polls, because the polls are just people not admitting they're going to vote for Herschel Walker. But these people put party above country to the extent that they will vote for this idiot to renew their majority in the Senate. And then the bad air from China is coming. There is no bottom, people. What's the good news this week? Montreal. I'm about to sign off, go do a couple of shows, and just enjoy this beautiful city. I hope you're finding enjoyment in life wherever you are. Take a break from the news. Watch Kamau Bell. And I wish you luck. Breathe some good air while we still have it.